Moana 2 kinda came out of nowhere, didn't it? They announced it a couple months ago and we were all like, what? They've been making a sequel this whole time? And well, turns out, no, not exactly. They were developing a Moana series for Disney Plus and decided during production to turn it into an official theatrical sequel. What a gift for the Moana fans! Or is it? Honestly, this movie was underwhelming. But you already knew that, that's why you clicked this video. It's likable, and I enjoyed it like a tiny bit, but mostly because I just really like Moana as a character. But yeah, this movie was mid as hell. I remember watching Frozen 2 a couple of years ago, and yeah, that was underwhelming too. But when Frozen 2 ended, even though I knew it was mid, I was still kind of coping. I didn't want to admit that I was disappointed by the movie because I really liked Show Yourself, so I was doing mental gymnastics to convince myself that Frozen 2 is good, actually, and that I love it, even though I didn't really. So I was in denial for a couple of months. But this time, with Moana 2, I don't know, I'm too exhausted to do any of that. The kids at my screening enjoyed this movie, and the visuals seemed cool, I guess. But the story, the songs, the characters, forget it. Ugh. Am I really surprised, though, that a Disney animated sequel is bad? Us, even just having hopes of them being good, is quite a recent development. For the longest time when I was a kid, it was a given that the Disney animated sequels would be of a lesser quality. It's just that at the time, they at least had the decency to release those terrible sequels straight to DVD. I remember first watching Cinderella 2 and thinking, oh, so this is ass. Don't hate on Cinderella 3, though. They randomly popped off for that one. That was a classic. I fully expect that there will be people who will love Moana 2 and disagree with my opinions about it. As I said, it has enjoyable parts, and it's not as terrible as I expected. Also, it's making a lot of money as we speak, so yeah, if you enjoyed this movie, good for you. I love that for you. There's enough terrible things happening in the world right now, so if you found joy in Moana 2, good for you. Don't let some bozo on the internet take that away from you. Let's get into it. Please be warned, there will be spoilers. First of all, I had never fallen asleep while watching a movie at the theater before, but I almost did for Moana 2. For comparison, Wicked was a 2-hour experience, and I never felt sleepy with that one. By the start of the third act of Moana 2, I was already checking out. So let's talk about why. First, the story. We ended the first movie with Moana and her people finally embracing their history as voyagers. So this one starts with Moana out on a voyage. She's searching for other people so they can connect. We find out that the reason Moana hasn't found any other people so far is because a great ancient god did a magical curse kind of thing that cut off the oceans and blocked people from reaching each other. So the whole movie is a quest to break this curse to connect the peoples of the sea once again. Not too bad, right? Well, actually, it is too bad. And that's because it lacks any kind of real, tangible urgency. In the first movie, their island, Motunui, was dying. Moana needed to go on her adventure because if she didn't, it was pretty clear what the consequences would be. Dead island and dead people. That movie put in the work to emphasize that threat with this physical, visible corruption. Remember those darkened fruits in the darkened parts of the ocean? And their fishermen were fishing less and less? They're running out of food. But in Moana 2, the threat doesn't really feel as urgent. Moana is told by one of her ancestors that she needs to go on this adventure and break the curse and connect the peoples of the sea, or else the people of Motunui will somehow vaguely die in the future. Because of isolation, apparently. When in the future do they die exactly? It's not clear. Who knows? Could be next week, next month, next year, in the next 10 years, in the next century? Who knows? The movie itself doesn't seem to know. The threat and the stakes are so vague, you don't feel any real sense of danger or urgency. Unlike Moana 1, Moana 2 doesn't put in as much effort to make the threat to Motunui feel as dire. Moana 2 just tells you that Moana has to break the curse or else her people would die. Trust me, bro. Trust me. If she doesn't do it, they will die. How exactly? I'm not gonna explain, but it's gonna happen. Believe me. She has to do this or her people will die. That's not good storytelling. And this is really largely, I feel, the reason why this movie, especially the first 2/3 of it, falls so flat and feels so boring. The stakes, what we could lose, and why we'd lose them if Moana doesn't succeed in her journey, they're all so poorly established. Also, I thought it was such a lame cop-out at the beginning of the movie. They kept on hyping up that Moana has to go on this long, perilous adventure, that the journey to break this curse would be long and dangerous and long. They emphasize on the long a lot. Then at the middle of the movie, they just basically teleport her to the destination. Okay, long journey. Sure. Let's get into specifics now, and as I said, there were parts of the movie that I did like, so let's talk about that a little bit. The good. Before I continue, I just want to say if you're still enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like or a comment. I'm a small channel, tiny channel, and that would help me out a lot. Thank you. Also consider subscribing. Hey, we've got videos and yeah, fun hats. Alright, back to the good. The voice acting for Moana. Lovely. Fabulous. Auliʻi Cravalho has a beautiful voice, and she delivers so much of the charm of this character. Another thing that I love was the fact that they made the choice to make this one even more of an adventure. Yeah, Moana 1 was already a solid adventure movie, but for Moana 2, it felt like they doubled down on it being even more of an adventure movie, and I really love that. We have lots of exciting and visually thrilling action set pieces happening out at sea, and I think it's cool to have a Disney princess movie, technically a Disney princess movie. Moana is part of the Disney princess line, so to have her movie be this kind of adventure out at sea, I love it. In the past, we never would have gotten a Disney princess movie that was heavily an action adventure, with the princess herself as the lead doing the action. Back then, we got Mulan. That was kind of an action movie, and I loved that. We had The Little Mermaid, too, which was kind of an adventure, I guess. But you know, Hollywood executives for the longest time were like, we can't have girls be the main characters for action adventure films because girls don't want to watch that kind of thing. Which now is very clearly wrong. Now I hope that Frozen 3 is even more of an adventure than Frozen 2 was. Me and my sister wanted so bad for Elsa to fight those giant rock trolls in Frozen 2, and they didn't. That would have been cool. My sister was 11 at that time, I think, while we were watching Frozen 2, and she was like, I want to see Elsa beat the shit out of them. 3, I guess this has nothing to do with the movie itself, but more of its brand. I love that it's a family experience. I know a lot of moms and dads were probably happy to be able to have a family bonding experience with their children and going to the theater and having a day out watching a movie. So good for them. I don't have a wife. Ugh. I don't have a husband, and I also don't have a child, but I'm glad if you have all those things and you went to the theater with them and you had a fun time. Good for you. That's it. That's all the good I can think of saying for this one. As usual, nothing but love to the animators. I know you guys are overworked and underpaid, so, like, love you, always. Now moving on to more of the bad. The most obvious is the fact that all of the songs are forgettable. Maybe they're not outright terrible, but they're forgettable as hell. I don't remember a single song, except I don't remember how it went, but I remember thinking, oh, this Bat Lady's song is kind of fun, but I do not, for the life of me, remember how it went. If you put a gun to my head and tell me to sing that song, just pull the trigger. But again, even that Bat Lady song was kinda just eh. All the musical numbers could have just been switched to dialogue scenes and nothing much would be missed. You don't want people saying that about your musical, but... which is a shame because the first movie had some absolute bangers in it. How Far I'll Go was such a fun I Want song. And I still remember the chills I got later in the movie when Moana got to that I Am Moana part. That was a classic. A moment in my career that I will never forget. There are simply no musical moments in Moana 2 that justify it being a musical. Again, I have an unfounded, totally biased dislike for Lin-Manuel Miranda. And even I was like, he should have been here. Like, we need him. He can really write, and if he was busy, if his schedule was really full, I don't know, this is Disney. You have unlimited money. Couldn't you get other songwriters that are more proven and tested? The Lopez's seem to be on Disney's speed dial. They're pretty talented too. Why not get them, or anyone else? Wouldn't it have been funny if they were like, well, we couldn't write good music for this one, so we just decided that it's just not a musical now. Besides the forgettable music, there's also the fact that you can tell that this was very obviously supposed to be a TV show. It's so clear where one episode was supposed to end and another would begin. One other thing that I dislike about this movie is that there are a lot of new elements. We have the curse on the ocean blocking people from finding each other. We have the ancient evil god who made that curse. We have the Bat Lady, we have Moana's sister, we have Moana's new crew. 3 people, by the way. There's a lot of introductions to a lot of new things, and because of that, none of them end up being developed or explored in a way that makes them substantial. All of these new additions could have really used the extra screen time that a TV show would have given. They could have developed all of these new elements properly in a TV show format. But no, this is a movie now, so you'll just get surface level introductions, and you're just gonna have to roll with it. I mentioned Frozen 2 before, and I'm going to mention Frozen 2 again because I do think they share similarities. They're both sequels, for starters, and both movies are about going on a dangerous adventure to strange new places. Frozen 2's premise had Elsa hearing this voice that was calling out to her. That was what Into the Unknown was all about. And if you watch the behind-the-scenes series for Frozen 2, the filmmakers admit that they actually had no idea who they wanted the voice calling Elsa to be. They were months away from the release date, and they still hadn't made a decision on who the voice was supposed to be. And because of that, just like Moana 2, Frozen 2 has this premise that's basically like, we have to go on an adventure because a vague someone is telling us to, and if we don't, bad things will happen. We have to go on an adventure. It was especially evident when Moana was singing her I Want song, I guess, in this movie. Beyond from Moana 2 is so similar to Frozen 2's Into the Unknown, not only in terms of lyrical content, going into the unknown and going to what lies beyond, but also similar in terms of vagueness. I'm definitely not saying Moana 2 copied Frozen 2, I'm saying Moana 2, just like Frozen 2, had no concrete ideas with what to do with its story, other than, you know, let's put the main character through a difficult journey so that they can grow. Which, duh, every story has to do that. That said, I do think Into the Unknown is a much better song. Also, both movies end with power-ups for their main characters. Elsa becomes the fifth spirit, and Moana becomes a demigod. Way to go. Anyway, Moana 2, very underwhelming. What about you? What did you think about the movie? Did you love it? Did you love the rock? Did you love the chicken? Did you love the pig? Or did you hate it all? Please tell me in the comments down below. I would like to know. That is it for me for now. I'm out.